I read it in the Woman's Day.
Oh, go on with ya.
As Ita is my role model, I swear. There's more to the Kennedy assassination than meets the eye.
What, so 2 gunmen didn't kill the president?
No, this is what I'm trying to say. The single bullet theory is correct. 1 bullet killed Jack and wounded Governor Connolly.
Yeah, I've got that, but then you reckon...
Well, this is the amazing thing, you see. The Woman's Day reckoned that the same single bullet that killed Jack and wounded the governor then went on to kill Senator Robert Kennedy in San Francisco 5 years later and Martin Luther King in the same year. And it even killed Ronald Reagan.
But nobody noticed.
Exactly.
Jeez, the Woman's Day's got some interesting stuff in it, hasn't it?
But you know the worst thing? They reckon the single bullet is still out there somewhere.
Go on. Jeez, it's a sick old world we live in, isn't it? Listen, that article, it didn't happen to have any pictures of the assassination, did it?
Oh, yes. The Woman's Day have the best Kennedy photos.
Oh.
Although, new idea have better colour.
Oh. I thought it was a crew of films myself. Hey, you! Punks!
Because that's the thing about guns, isn't it? For most of us, our only experience with them is through images like these. We've seen Dirty Harry blow those punks away 100 times, but are guns actually that quick and clean? Do we have any idea of what we're really dealing with? I don't, but this guy does. His name's Robert Lawrence. He used to be a professional soldier, fought with the British Army in the Falkland Islands until a filthy RG bullet blew 40% of his brain away. I've always wanted to introduce a guest like that. Finally, I have. Robert, welcome to the show.
That's right.
Tell me, how does the media image of guns stack up to the reality?
Well, it's very different in reality, of course, because there are a number of different ways of killing. There are a number of different ways, emotions that are drawn by what distance you're doing it at. And of course, it's never as clean as we make it for the television.
Well, when you say it's never as clean, what do you mean?
Well, basically, you expect, or you're conditioned by television and by the images you see in films, to expect to kill someone when you shoot them and hit them. And in reality, people like myself survive the most horrendous wounds. Other people die from what seemingly are very small wounds. I mean, we had someone who died from a round in the thigh and bled to death very quickly. And then someone who received a bullet through the cheek, through the larynx, deflected out the back, and he's now 100% fit. But when they're coming at you and you fire at them and bits come off, you expect them to fall down, and they don't always do that.
I mean, you've been hit by a bullet. What do bullets do to people?
Well, I can give you an idea from the photographs that I received from the medics afterwards. But basically, if you're hit by a high-velocity bullet, not only is it the bullet itself that does the damage, but the shockwave that travels with it and the vacuum that travels behind it. This thing's doing 4,000 feet per second, and they cut you in half.
That's extraordinary. And just looking at this photo here, it looks as if it doesn't just cut through you, but it
blows out.
Yeah.
Blows out. So I was hit in the back of the head, and it came out here, and it blew out 3.5 by 4.5 inches of this side of my skull.
It must have been a matter of millimetres between you now and death.
Well, I should have been dead anyway, there's no doubt about that. Should have been. It should just turn the whole brain to jelly, but then if it's already jelly, you're all right.
Well, looking at this second photo here, they did a pretty good patch-up job on you. How did they put your skull back together?
Well, in that one, in fact, I haven't got a skull underneath it. That's just the scalp stretched across where the hole is. That was taken some 4 hours after I was hit. No, nearly 7 hours after I was hit. 4 hours of surgery, and a couple of hours lying where I was hit because they couldn't get the aircraft in to get us out. There was too much still going on. And that was an hour and a half before the ceasefire, so you've got to pick your timing, but then you know that.
And you were conscious the whole time, of course?
Yeah, remain conscious throughout. And of course they can't anaesthetise, because the minute they do put you out with a head injury, that's it, goodbye.
What was the feeling?
Enormous pain, a great deal of heat. When I was initially hit, it was snowing and a lot of wet mud, as with most of the Falklands, it's wet mud. And I attempted very hard to rub my head in this mud to try and cool it down because of that burning sensation. Initially, I thought I'd been hit by a train. I expected a bullet to feel piercing, but of course the enormous shockwave travelling with it, you feel like you've been hit by a train. It's the complete head feels that it's been hit, as opposed to one point.
It's interesting, most people carry pictures of their wives and kids. Robert carries pictures of his brain. Either that or the worst hairdressing accident I've ever seen in my life. What's it like to kill a person?
Well, as I said, there are a number of different feelings. When you're picking a man off at 200 yards through a night sight, it feels totally false. It's totally fabricated. It's a little more like the television images you're watching. When you're bayoneting a man who's clawing at your legs and clawing at your weapon, and you're having to stab him in every conceivable place a number of times to get him to die, it's a different ball game altogether.
What's going through your mind in that occasion? Are you on automatic pilot, or are you
Partially on automatic pilot, partially willing the guy to die, to stop, so that you can stop doing what you're having to do to kill him.
When you joined the army, what were your favourite weapons? But was it a love affair for you with guns?
I think guns are very like cameras, and you can take bits off and put them back on, and you can oil them, and the machinery works beautifully, and you look after them. They're precision tools. The attraction wasn't its killing power, it was more the weapon itself.
In the end, that is the gun's only function, really, isn't it?
We had a policy in Northern Ireland that I was always trained, although the British government might not agree with it, that basically you never fire a weapon. You never fire a weapon over someone's head, and you never fire a weapon to wound someone, to bring them down. You only fire a weapon to kill someone.
Do you consider yourself a pacifist?
I am now. I mean, but at the end of the day, I would prefer to be gunning down. If I had to gun down anything, I prefer to gun down a man that deserved it than an animal that didn't.
Would you use a gun again?
Oh, in the right situation. I mean, I've carried the scars and the memories of having done it for what I believe were the right reasons. Those reasons were then very carefully massaged and created to appear the way they wanted them to appear. So I'm damned if I'm not going to use it if it came to a time when I wanted to use it.
I think you've just summed up the essential human dilemma about guns. Robert Lawrence, nice talking to you.
My pleasure.
It's possible I've got this all wrong, I suppose. I mean, the statistics are against me. For example, 1 in 4 Australian households now owns a gun, an increase of 50% in just 10 years. In 1987, it was estimated there were 3.5 million privately owned guns, 10 times the amount held by the police, and an arsenal that increases by 100,000 every year. Which, come to think of it, might help explain the tactical response group policy of shooting first, avoiding questions later.